This video of creating checklister will be fun of fixing bugs. There's a famous quote by boxer Mike Tyson that no plan survives the contact with reality. So similar to software development, no amount of code survives the first contact with the customer. So I gave the customer the thing for testing, uploaded to my server, testing server, and they already submitted a few bugs related to Livewire mostly. And I don't know, am I the only one or you are similar to me, but just I will share my psychological feeling every time when working with the project in the middle, when the client starts submitting the bugs, the fixes, the changes, you are like off track because you had a plan of releasing this feature, the next feature, and then you need to go back, you need to fix stuff, you need to discuss with client. So psychologically, it brings you off track totally. But over the years, as an advice to you, I've learned to live with that. So I'm expecting in the beginning of the project that if I, for example, if I plan 1 week for something, in reality, at the end of this project, it will be 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks because new unexpected stuff will come back. And that's just the reality of web development. So you shouldn't be discouraged by fixing bugs. It's kind of part of the job. And rarely everything works from the first time, or if it does work for you the first time, not necessarily it will work for the client. So in this video, we will fix 4 bugs, or actually 3 bugs and 1 small new feature related to checking the checklist from user perspective. Bug number 1 that the client reported is when clicking on the task name, it doesn't always expand. So this one expands, this one doesn't for some reason. Then third one expands, second one doesn't, fourth doesn't. Why? If we take a look at the code, in the checklist show blade of Livewire component, we have this wire click on TD. And for some reason, to be honest, I don't know why, wire click on TD doesn't always trigger the method. How did I find out? How did I debug? In the checklist show, in that toggle task method, I just did info something, some text, which should be loaded into Laravel log file, and I've tested out whether it does. So if we refresh the page, we click on the first task, and we open Laravel log file, this one, we have AAA. But if we click back, we again have AAA, but if we click here on the second task, there's nothing here in Laravel log, which means that this method isn't even fired for whatever reason. And to be honest, I haven't solved the reason why. But the fix is pretty easy. So advice to you, if you don't know what the reason of the bug, try to think outside of the box and what you want to change, what you can change to make the same thing work in a different way. So what I did, I just moved wire click to the link from TD to link of task name. So instead of doing that, I do a wire click to link of this, and then we need to add wire click dot prevent. So it would actually not behave as a link. And then we need to finish the link like this, and we refresh. And now we have the links here. Click, click back, click, click back. All works. So for some reason, Livewire doesn't really work on TD in that case. On TD of this case, it works. That's the interesting part. So while clicking here, it works all the time. But this TD doesn't always work. If you know any reason, help me in the comments. But for now, the first bug is fixed. The second bug is related to task not being shown as completed. Look at the scenario. So I complete the task, which is good. Then I expand the first task, and then I unexpand the first task, and this is not completed anymore. Why? And here I know the exact reason. In our component of checklist show, we have completed task mounted only in the very beginning. And then after we actually complete the task in the list, we complete them in the database, but we don't refresh the component value of completed tasks. So in here, we need to actually do, if we complete the task, we do this, completed tasks, new element of task ID, I think it is. Like this, and same here, if we create a new task and complete it immediately, also completed task works well. And let's try it out. We refresh, this is completed, and if we complete this one, 2 out of 4, expand, unexpand, expand, unexpand, now it works. So the lesson here that if you use mount for setting up the first value, and if that value is subject to change, don't forget to change that. Bug number 3 is multiple clicking on the completed task fires the increasing number on the sidebar. Not sure if you see that, it's pretty small font, but if I click here, it becomes 3 out of 4, although it's already completed. So 2 out of 4 here, the correct numbers. But if I click, I even go over the total number of 4, which is 7 out of 4 at the moment. Why is that? Let's take a look. And it was actually a thing that was pretty risky at that moment. I thought it was risky to do it this way, but now it bites us back. There's a complete tasks counter component, and it fires the event of recalculate tasks on task complete, and all it does is complete a task ++ without any calculations, without any changes, without any checking. And we can add if statement or recalculation from the database here, or the other way around, from the main checklist show, we should fire that event only in the case of completed task being actually completed. We fire the event in the wrong place. So let's fire that event in 2 places, when it's actually completed here, or when the new task is completed here. And let's refresh. So we have 2 out of 4, and no matter how many times I click something, that doesn't change. 2 out of 4, but if we click here, 3 out of 4 here, and 3 out of 4 here, correct. And final thing requested by a client, it's not a bug but a feature. They say that I cannot uncheck the task. So for example, it was done, but then I changed my mind or got some new information, and I cannot uncheck that. So my original reaction to this was, wait a minute, in the original mockup by a client, there was a radio button here, and radio button means that you check one of those, and you cannot uncheck that. So I thought to kind of fight the client and argue that you had radio buttons here. But then I remembered that the same behavior is in Todoist, which I use daily. You cannot actually uncheck the radio button, so that radio button is kind of a fake thing. It's actually a checkbox. But I don't want to spend extra time to mimic the behavior of Todoist and overriding the radio button with some kind of hidden parameters. Instead, let's just change radio button to checkbox here. And I thought it was pretty complex, but actually not the case. If we go to blade file of that checklist show, all we need to do is change type radio to type checkbox, and that doesn't change the condition of checked. This should be okay, and if we refresh, it should be checkbox with 3 checked, and even that works. So if I check this one, 4 out of 4, 4 out of 4, this works. What doesn't work is unchecking, but now we can implement that. In our method complete task, let's add one more condition. If we find the task and if it was completed, so if it was not completed, then we complete that. Otherwise, what we will do is user task update completed add to null. So instead of now it will be null, we uncomplete the task, and then we fire the same event of task complete. But let's add one more parameter to task complete of parameter number 4. What was it increased or decreased? So we add -1 here as the 4th parameter, and in here in the completed task counter, recalculate the task, let's add the 4th parameter, increase or decrease, which is like count change, for example, and by default it will be equal to 1. And in here we will do plus equal count change. So if it is -1, it will be actually decreasing. Let's try it out. We refresh, we have 4 out of 4 here, and if we click here, we should have 3 out of 4, correct. So this one is recalculated from the database, and that one is actually decreasing. If we click again, we have 4 out of 4, unclick here, 3, 2, 1, 0 out of 4. If we refresh the page, is it still 0 out of 4? No, it is actually 4 out of 4 here. So there's a bug somewhere. And I have traced the bug behind the scenes to the completed tasks count calculation, which we count by user tasks. And user tasks is a relationship of checklist group, then checklist, then user tasks. It is here. We calculate the user task, but we don't actually check if it was completed. So user task may exist when we complete and then we uncomplete, but the task stays. But maybe we should actually delete the task from here instead of doing update completed add to null. Maybe we should delete it. Let's try it out. User task, we delete, we save. So let's delete those records manually in the database. So we have 0 out of 4 now. Let's check something. So 3 out of 4. Let's uncheck something. 2 out of 4. And let's see what records are in the database. We refresh. And this one is deleted at. So it was completed, but it's deleted at. And if we refresh now, we have 2 out of 4 correct number. So now we implemented the unchecking of the tasks with checkboxes instead of radio buttons. So I guess that's it for this video, small fixes related to Livewire, and in the next videos we will move on finishing the checklister.